Like, it's not even a dig on industrial level 3 first aid attendants. They suffer from the success of the safety culture. And let me explain. Because I'm no fan of the overreach of safety culture. But, I mean, I work in an industry, we all work in an industry where you can get crushed by thousands, tens of thousands of pounds of equipment and material. You could be engulfed by the earth and die. You can suffocate and drown. You can have high pressure releases of gas that literally sever limbs and kill people. You can have explosions of gas. You could get poisoned by gas and suffocate and die. So like, we're in an industry where when things go wrong, it can be catastrophic. And yet, statistically, and forgive the outliers, I know there's outliers, but statistically speaking, these aren't happening. The safety culture is such that we've been able to reduce those incidents down to statistic 0. And again, a robust safety culture is a great thing. Some of the overreach that's happened in the last couple of years, I'm not a fan of, and I'm not saying that we should, do nothing so that nobody gets hurt. But it's undeniable that it's effective. One of the side effects being lots of paramedics and first aid attendants that go to work day in, day out don't have to deal with trauma. People aren't losing limbs. People aren't getting opened up from stem to sternum. These things aren't really happening. So you could have first aid attendants going their entire career not putting on a tourniquet, and the training, the level 1, level 2, level 3 training doesn't support massive bleeds as a primary intervention, right? It's airway, breathing, circulation. That's the paradigm that they work under, not massive hemorrhage, airway, and then respiration, like what we work under with TECC. So we run into a problem where clients who expect that they need to comply with the regulations and bring first aid attendants on site, where we're at, right? It needs a minimum of 6 people. So the problem is in larger sites, the first aid attendant can't immediately be there, right? They're off to the corner, parked, where people can go to them, presuming that self-rescue is available or that they can be called in. But I mean, waiting for a first aid attendant to come to you can be the same length of time as it would take in a city calling 911 waiting for an ambulance. So what do you do in the meantime? Well, we know that if we're in the city, we want to be able to save ourselves. Why don't we have that on job sites? Because of the false sense of security that's been managed to be incurred by a strong safety culture. And I say false sense of security, but in all reality, I mean, it's real, except that now nobody thinks they need to have a personal responsibility for, hey, what if I cut into, an artery in my leg while I'm working with this grinder? I mean, the obvious answer for anybody here, and for you there too, carry a tourniquet, problem solved, put that thing on, call for help. You've now given yourself the time window you need to get yourself to a higher level of care, which is what civilians should be doing for trauma situations anyways. That's what we always say, right? Our goal is to keep our casualty, which might be ourselves, alive until we can get them to a higher level of care. First aid attendants on job sites are effectively treating really minor injuries day in, day out, and acting as transpo, as medevac, right? So for the people who don't use that lingo, that's fine. Transpo is short for transportation, and medevac means to evacuate somebody in a medical vehicle. Side note, casevac means to evacuate somebody in any vehicle. What we end up with is a situation where people aren't carrying tourniquets because they have put the responsibility on the first aid attendant. A first aid attendant doesn't have to do this all the time, and so they may not be properly prepared to deal with a trauma situation, and they might not be immediately available. How do we solve this? Change the culture. Okay, that's what we're about, change the culture. So some things to think about. Now, look at this. So WorkSafe PC, level 1 first aid kit. Mandated to have a windlass tourniquet in it. Open this thing up. this tourniquet is in here, in its package, in its wrapper, fully sealed up, as everything in here lives, fully sealed up, because nobody works with this stuff on a day in, day out basis. By the way, cheap Chinese copy of a Cat Gen 7. You guys see this? We did a demonstration on this yesterday. All the stuff in this kit are the sort of Chinese versions, and you know what? Like the Chinese, some medical stuff, like gauze and stuff like that, go to China for. Something that you need to keep you alive so you can get to a higher level of care. You don't want a high failure rate, so don't go to China for that. So our level 3 first aid attendants are a very important tool on the work site, but in order to stay alive long enough for us to make it to them or allow them time to get to us without having a casualty so that they can get us to a hospital, we need to take personal responsibility. Okay, that means at the minimum, stop the bleed training, and you can get that for free on in the internet where you're at there. Okay, at the minimum, and then carry a tourniquet. Look out for yourself. Look out for everybody. Everybody on job site does it. Even if just the foreman of a work crew does that, then you've got a safety net that'll get you there. Okay, consider that. And I always say it, get training, right? Like I said, you could just go to the Stop the Bleed program. Lots of places for free. There's online courses that'll teach you how to put these things on. It's not as good as in-person training, but there shouldn't be a barrier to entry. And so you can at least start there. And then if you want to know more, come see us, right? You guys are all here for that. You guys are, watching along. So anyways, that's what I want to say about that. And let's move on and talk about pressure bandages.